The only way to start this story is to tell you how it ended. I held him in my doorway, and we both knew it was the last time. We held on so tight, as if our bodies could memorize a feeling our minds already knew was slipping away. There was no dramatic fight, no final cruel words, just the quiet, devastating sound of two people letting go of something beautiful because the world they built it in was all wrong. This wasn't supposed to happen. We were never part of the plan. It started with a knock on my door on a Tuesday night in Chicago that felt like any other. Rain streaked my apartment window, and the wind off the lake was trying to turn into winter. I was in sweatpants, my hair a mess, about to eat cereal for dinner because I couldn't be bothered to cook. The knock was impatient. I figured it was my neighbor complaining about my music again, but it was him. He was soaked, holding a brown paper bag beaded with rain, a confused and slightly annoyed look on his face. "I think you have my Thai food," he said, his voice a low rumble under the hallway echo. I blinked. "I didn't order any food." We stood there for a second, two strangers in a dimly lit hallway. He pulled out his phone, squinting at the screen, then up at my apartment number. His shoulders dropped. "They sent it to 4B. I'm in 3B, directly below you." A small, frustrated laugh escaped him. "Again?" Something about the way he said "again," like this was the final straw in a long, tiring day, made me smile. "Well," I said, stepping back, "you should probably come in and claim it before my cereal starts looking too appealing." That was the first time he stepped into my world. He was just a guy in a damp jacket with kind eyes that looked tired. We didn't sit at a table. We just stood in my small kitchen, the bag of food between us on the counter, and he offered me a spring roll because it felt weird to just take his food and leave. We talked about the terrible building management, about the Thai place that always messed up deliveries, about the relentless Chicago wind. He stayed for an hour. The rain didn't stop, but that wasn't why. The next week, there was another knock. This time, he was holding two bags. "They got mine, right?" he said, a hesitant smile playing on his lips. "But I figured you might want the proper version, since I ruined your cereal night." My heart did a stupid little flip. That night, we sat on my floor because I didn't have a proper couch yet. We ate straight from the containers, and he told me he was a software engineer, saving every penny to start his own firm. He wanted to build something from nothing, out in the wide open spaces of Colorado. He talked about mountains and silence and clean air. I was a freelance illustrator, painting murals in local cafes, tangled in the vibrant, grimy heartbeat of the city. My dream was a studio with north-facing windows right here, where I could hear the L train rumble past. We were a map of two different countries, but we kept showing up. It became a thing. Tuesdays, sometimes Thursdays. He'd bring food, I'd put on some quiet music. Nothing that would define a moment, just a soft background hum. We shared dinners, and then we shared stories, the kind that come out in the low light, stories you don't tell on first dates because they're too real. I told him about my father leaving, about the quiet shame that followed. He told me about the pressure he felt, the weight of his family's expectations, a future that felt predetermined. We were too honest for something that was supposed to be accidental. I remember one night, he was tracing the edge of my coffee table. His voice was soft, almost lost in the music. "It's strange," he said. "I feel more at home in your messy apartment than I do in my own perfectly quiet one downstairs." I stopped breathing for a second. I looked at him, and he looked at me, and the air in the room shifted. It became something you could feel, something warm and terrifying. We never said "I love you." We didn't have to. It was in the way he'd remember how I liked my tea, in the way I'd save my weirdest art projects to show him first, It was in the comfortable silence that settled between us, a silence that felt like a held hand. But outside my apartment, the real world was ticking. He got the funding. The Colorado dream solidified into plane tickets and a lease on an office space. We tried to ignore it. We acted like our Tuesdays were a universe that existed outside of time. But one evening, he came up and didn't bring food. He just stood there, his hands in his pockets, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "It's happening," he said quietly. "I leave in 3 weeks." The words hung in the space between us, sharp and final. We didn't fight it. What was there to fight? His dream wasn't a person he could choose against. It was the core of who he was. And my dream was rooted here, in this noisy, beautiful concrete soil. To ask him to stay would be to erase him. To ask me to go would be to erase myself. The last 3 weeks were a beautiful, heartbreaking dream. We didn't talk about the future. We just lived in a suspended present, soaking up every leftover second. The final night was clear and cold. We stood in my doorway, the same place where a bag of mistaken Thai food had once changed everything. I could see the suitcase by the elevator down the hall. The reality was a physical ache in my chest. He pulled me into a hug. It wasn't a romantic movie hug. It was desperate. It was two people clinging to a sinking ship, knowing the water was inevitable. My face was buried in his jacket, and I could smell his detergent and the cold Chicago night on the fabric. I didn't cry. I just held on, trying to memorize the exact pressure of his arms, the sound of his heartbeat through his coat. When he finally let go, his eyes were bright. He cupped my face in his hands, his thumbs brushing my cheeks. "We got the delivery right," he whispered, his voice thick. The timing was just all wrong. He kissed my forehead, a slow, tender press of his lips that felt like a seal on everything we were and everything we couldn't be. Then he turned, picked up his suitcase, and walked to the elevator. He didn't look back. The elevator dinged, the doors slid open, and then he was gone. I closed the door and slid down to the floor. The silence in my apartment was deafening. It was the silence of a missing heartbeat. Sometimes love isn't wrong. The person isn't wrong. The feeling is so breathtakingly right it carves a place inside you that never really fills again. But life has its own addresses, its own roots. Our love was perfect. It was just delivered to the wrong one. I still live in 4B. He doesn't live in 3B anymore. And sometimes, on a quiet Tuesday night when the wind is howling, I'll hear a faint knock in my memory. And for a second, I'm back in that beautiful, painful doorway between a mistake and a miracle. A year passed. The sharp, breath-stealing pain softened into a quiet, persistent ache. It lived in the background, like the hum of the refrigerator. I painted more. I took on a big mural project for a bookstore in Wicker Park, spending my days on a ladder, my arms streaked with color, my mind focused on the lines and curves in front of me. I dated a nice graphic designer for a few months. It didn't work out. We both knew it. My heart, it seemed, was still holding a silent vigil for a ghost. I never stopped thinking about him. Not really. It would hit me at the strangest times. Smelling lemongrass from a passing restaurant cart, seeing a particular shade of blue-gray in the winter sky, the exact color of his eyes that last night. I'd wonder if he was in the mountains, if the silence there was everything he'd hoped for. I hoped, fiercely, that it was. Then, one rainy April afternoon, my phone buzzed with a notification. A package delivered. I hadn't ordered anything. The delivery note just said, "Left with building manager." I went downstairs, my old sweatshirt stained with Prussian blue paint. Mr. Henderson, the manager, handed me a small, flat cardboard box. No return address. But the shipping label, it was from a town in Colorado. My hands went cold. I took the stairs back up to my apartment, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I sat on the floor, right in the spot where we used to eat, and I carefully opened the box. Inside wasn't a letter. It was a framed piece of art. But not my art. It was a detailed, beautiful architectural sketch. A building. A modern, clean-lined studio space with massive, north-facing windows. And from those windows, you could see the most stunning, jagged line of snow-capped mountains. It was exquisite, professional, hopeful. Taped to the back of the frame was a single, plain note card. His handwriting. I'd know it anywhere. I built my company. It's exactly what I wanted. The silence here is profound. I thought it would feel like peace. But sometimes, it just feels silent. I was in Denver for a meeting and saw a mural in a coffee shop. It was all Chicago skyline, the L, the lake, the messy, wonderful energy. It stopped me dead. It felt like a punch to the chest and like coming home. I knew it was yours before I even saw the signature in the corner, so I'm sending you this. It's the first design I ever drew for my own firm's office. My dream. I guess I just wanted you to know I reached the address. It's everything I worked for, but I left my heart at the wrong one. Ben. I read it once, then again, and again. The words blurred. A hot tear fell onto the note card, smudging the ink of his name. I wasn't sad. Not exactly. It was something more complex, a deep, resonant sorrow mixed with an undeniable, glowing warmth. He'd made it. He'd done the thing. And he remembered. He saw my art, and he remembered me. I didn't write back. What could I say? Congratulations. Your dream looks beautiful. Sorry about your heart. I put the framed sketch on my bookshelf, right where I could see it from my kitchen. It became a part of my landscape. A beautiful, painful reminder that some loves aren't meant to be marriages. They're meant to be compasses. Another 6 months bled by. Fall came, painting Chicago in fire-bright colors. I was busy, happy in a settled, content way. The ache for Ben had become a familiar scar, tender if I pressed on it, but mostly just a part of my history. Then, on a Tuesday, there was a knock on my door. It wasn't impatient. It was hesitant, soft. My breath caught. It was a stupid, hopeful, terrifying reflex. I walked to the door, my socks silent on the wood floor. I looked through the peephole. And there he was, Ben, standing in my hallway. He looked older. His hair was a little shorter. He had a faint tan, like he'd been spending time outside. He was wearing a simple gray sweater and jeans, and he was shifting his weight from one foot to the other, staring at my door like it was a puzzle he was trying to solve. I unlocked the door and pulled it open. The air left the hallway. He looked at me, and his whole face changed. It was like watching a man exhale after holding his breath for 2 years. His eyes, that Colorado sky blue, were wide, vulnerable. "Hey," he said, his voice exactly the same but rougher. "Hey," I managed, my own voice a whisper. "I was in town," he said, the words tumbling out quickly. "For a conference. It ended today, and I just started walking. And my feet brought me here, to this stupid building, to this door." He paused, his gaze searching my face, as if memorizing the changes. "I'm not here to disrupt your life, I swear." "You're not," I said honestly. "I got your sketch," I added, because I had to say something. "Did you?" A small, shy smile touched his lips. "I wasn't sure you'd want it." We stood there, the ghosts of 1,000 Tuesday nights swirling around us in the dusty hallway light. The silence wasn't awkward. It was charged, electric with everything unsaid. "Do you want to come in?" I finally asked, stepping back. He nodded, almost imperceptibly. He walked over the threshold into my apartment. It looked different now. I had a real couch, new art on the walls, mine and others. It was more me. He took it in, slowly, his eyes lingering on the bookshelf where his framed sketch sat. He turned to face me. The distance between us felt like a canyon and like nothing at all. "The thing is," he started, his hands finding his pockets again, that old familiar gesture. "I built the dream. And it's good. It's really good. But it's a place. It's bricks and windows and a view." He took a step closer. His voice dropped, raw and honest. And I realized the best part of my old dream wasn't the destination. It was the Tuesdays. It was the Thai food on the floor. It was the girl in the paint-stained sweatpants who made me feel like I could breathe. Tears welled in my eyes, but I didn't try to stop them. They just fell, quiet and warm. "I'm not asking you to move to the mountains," he said, his own eyes glistening. "I'm not asking for anything you don't want. I had to see you. I had to know if that feeling, if it was just in my memory, or if it was real." "It was real," I whispered, the truth of it finally breaking free. "It was the most real thing I've ever had." He closed his eyes for a second, as if my words were a physical relief. When he opened them, he took the last step, closing the distance. He didn't kiss me. He just reached out and took my hand, his fingers lacing through mine. His touch was warm, solid, and felt like a key sliding into a lock I'd forgotten was there. "So, what does this mean?" I asked, my heart a wild, hopeful bird in my chest. He looked down at our joined hands, then back up at me. "I don't know," he admitted, a genuine, bewildered laugh mixing with his emotion. "I have a life in Colorado. You have a life here, filled with color and noise. I don't have a map for this." He squeezed my hand. "But maybe," he said, his voice full of a quiet, determined hope, "we could start with dinner and just see where the delivery goes this time." I smiled then, a real, full smile that reached my eyes for the first time in years, because sometimes love shows up at the wrong address, and sometimes, against all odds, it learns the right route. It finds its way back, not to relive the past, but to build a new future, with all the beautiful, complicated geography of two separate dreams finally on the same map. "Okay," I said, squeezing his hand back. "Okay, let's start with dinner." And for the first time, our story didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a very brave, very beautiful beginning.